She reads the news to millions of people every morning. Calm. Composed. Professional. But at 49, Ainsley Earhardt said something off camera that was more honest than anything she has ever read from a teleprompter. She talked about love. Real love. The kind that does not fit into a morning show segment. And then she did something nobody expected. She got engaged. To the man who had been sitting beside her every single morning. Let me take you to South Carolina. 1976. A little girl grows up in a house where the news was always on. Where her father taught her about facts and fairness and the idea that truth matters. She was the kind of child who asked too many questions. And somewhere between growing up and becoming a journalist, she learned the hardest lesson in television. The person who tells the story never gets to be the story. Ainsley built a career. From local news in Florida to the biggest morning show in cable television. Fox and Friends. Millions of viewers. She became one of the most recognizable faces on television. And with that recognition came the kind of scrutiny that makes a normal life nearly impossible. Every relationship was public property. Every divorce was a headline. 2 marriages. 2 divorces. And between those 2 endings, there was a woman who kept showing up to work and reading the news while her personal life fell apart in public. Because that is what television demands from its women. Show up. Smile. Pretend that the camera is enough. But the camera is never enough. And then there was Sean Hannity. Her co-host. The man who sat beside her every morning. The one person who knew exactly what it felt like to be watched by millions while being completely alone. They had chemistry on camera. Everybody saw it. The easy banter. The way they looked at each other when they thought nobody was watching. Sean had been divorced. Ainsley had been through 2 people on the same desk, living parallel versions of the same loneliness. And the line between professional and personal started blurring. Not in a scandalous way. In the quiet way 2 broken people find each other in a building full of cameras. Sean became her anchor. Not publicly. But in the way that matters most. He was the one person in the building who didn't need her to perform. He had seen her on the worst days. After the second divorce. When the headlines were cruelest. When the internet decided she was the villain. And he was still there the next morning. Beside her. At the desk. Saying, keep going. At 49, Ainsley finally stopped pretending. She said yes. Not to a fairy tale. Not to a magazine cover romance. To the man who already knew every broken part of her and chose to stay anyway. The engagement was quiet. Simple. 2 people who had waited long enough to stop hiding. Because Ainsley had spent years talking about the love of her life like it was something still out there. Something she was still searching for. But it wasn't out there. It was beside her. At the desk. Between commercial breaks. Sliding a cup of coffee her way at 5 in the morning without saying a word. Sean spent years interviewing people about their lives, their choices, their families. And the family he wanted was the woman who already knew him better than any interview ever could. They didn't announce it with a cover story. They didn't need to. Because the people who had been watching every morning already knew. They had seen it in the glances. In the laughter. In the quiet moments when the teleprompter stopped and the real conversation started. At 49. Ainsley Earhardt finally got to be the story. Not the person who tells it. The person who lives it. And maybe that is what people understand too late. That love doesn't always arrive when you are young and ready. Sometimes it arrives when you are tired and broken and sitting at a desk, and the person beside you finally asks the question you both already knew the answer to. If this story moved you, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Because there are so many more legends whose real stories deserve to be told, and I'll be bringing them right here.